This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to SafariLive's Sunset Safari. Our latest character is currently, doing its best to fill your screen. A very tiny little blacksmith lapwing now seeking cover in the mud at the bottom of the Juma Dam. There is his mother or father, I'm not sure which. It's a glorious 30 degrees out here, 86 degrees Fahrenheit on the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. And you are encouraged, indeed, you are compelled to ask any questions and send us your comments using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the chat stream on YouTube. My name is James Henry, and on camera today we have got Senzo, the alarm clock Mkize. Let's go back to see if we can find this bird again, as I tell you that we have a very exciting surprise for you this afternoon. An enormously surprising surprise is about to greet you from the other vehicle today. I'm sure that you are all sore amazed, sore aquiver with what is about to occur. I think we're going to name this bird, this little bird, for as long as it lives. Let's hope it gets to adulthood. Chances are very slim, I must be honest. Let's hope it survives. And, what do we think we should call it? It's a lapwing, a blacksmith lapwing. We don't know if it's male or female. Perhaps we should call it Leslie. Leslie the lapwing. I think that's a great name. So that's Leslie and her mother or father. I don't really care whether the FC agrees or not, Kirsten. I have named that bird Leslie the lapwing. Tiny little thing, look at it. It's probably, how old is it now? I think it's about a week old. Running around, already trying to think about foraging. And its parent has just chased away a francolin that was getting a bit closer. I didn't think a francolin would harm the little bird. They are very protective, but it faces many, many perils. Joy, you say you would like to call it Scoot. Well, Joy, I'm going to let you call it Scoot. I'm going to call it Leslie, though. I suppose it can't really be up to me, unfortunately, so I'm happy to have a poll. Let's do a poll. I chose the first name, so that'll be Leslie. Joy chose the second one. The third name in gets to be the third one on the poll, and then we'll have a poll. Right, Kirsten? As soon as another name comes in, that will be the third one on the poll. And it can't come from the final control, it must come from the viewers. Anything so far, Kirsten? Now you're all guessing as to who is going to be on the drive, and you are all wrong. It is not Scott, it is not Taylor, and it is not Baron. Who could it be? Who could it be? All right, that was the sighting of the lapwing. I would like to try and do a poll so that we may give it a name. Okay, we've got another name, Nala from Rosalind. Nala, I think, was the Lion King's girlfriend's name, if I'm not incorrect. Well, that's fine. Nala, Scoot, or Leslie, you may now vote using the hashtag SafariLive or the chat stream on YouTube. Are we going to set up a poll, or are we just going to kind of wing it? You about to what?
I'm about to vote.
You're allowed to vote. What do you vote for?
I'm voting for Nala.
Nala. Okay, right. Let us now go across to the great afternoon surprise as I instruct Senzo on disagreeing with me through the medium of this.
It is an impala. That's James's surprise. Isn't that just amazing? The very rare, very elusive, ultra special impala. And me telling you about it. I think that was what James was meaning. Actually, I'm Steph, and on camera today is David, and it is quite a rare sight seeing me in a vehicle. And only under extreme duress do I actually venture into a car. But I'm very pleased to be on the car with you this afternoon, as well as out here. It is a boiling hot afternoon, deep in the 80s Fahrenheit, everything shimmering, and as you can see, the impala are lying up in the shade. For those of you just joining the show or new to Safari Live, impala are not that rare. I was being full of nonsense. There are over 100,000 impala in the Kruger National Park. A very common antelope, but beautiful nonetheless. This is a young male you're looking at on the right-hand side. Kirsty says everyone is saying hello. Well, you know, there are of you that are saying hello. Yes, hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be on safari with you for the next, hopefully today and tomorrow for most of it, if I don't break something along the way, which is very likely. Have a look at that young male. He was born now last year. All the females in the herd are pregnant. And that is, usually I'm not in a vehicle. Usually I'm out on foot. Actually, usually I'm behind a desk. When I do get out, I'm generally on foot. And every now and again, I'm caught off guard and say yes to a safari. And that you've caught me on one of these very rare occasions. Not that I don't like driving around in the bush. I actually quite enjoy it. I just find a lot more pleasure being out on foot. Although I must be honest with you, the ability to drive fast today and have some wind flutter through what little remains of the hair on top of my head is an absolute pleasure. That is a male impala. He was probably not the father of many of the lambs that the ewes are currently carrying. They will be giving birth in about December, some as late as middle October into November, beginning of December. But we are looking at very pregnant ewes at the moment. And what they do is they give birth almost all at the same time, within a couple of days to a couple of weeks of one another. And what that does is it completely floods the market, so to say, of little lambs. And because predators are satiated and overwhelmed, basically, the ones that are left are given the best chance at just getting that extra little bit of time to get stronger and to make it. So all of the ewes and all in this particular herd are all pregnant. Let's see if we can find you one through the gap there. You should be able to see them carrying now. They just get a little bit swollen. They almost look like they're ready to pop in about October, but you can just see their bellies are slightly distended. This time of the year, that is for two reasons though. One is that the females are full of babies, but if you have a look at a male, that's the one that's walking away from us with the horns, his belly is also a little bit distended. And that is because impala need a very specific high protein diet. And at the moment, the bush is very dry. We're coming to the end of our dry season, and the quality of the vegetation is very poor. And to get enough nutrition into their bodies, they have to keep their bellies incredibly full of low-quality grasses and shrubs. And their digestive system is not unique, they're ruminants, but is keyed to a higher quality grass. And so what happens is their bellies fill up, they can't eat enough, they're constantly hungry, bodies withering away, tummies full. And that is just a sign of the times, unfortunately, for ruminants. This is their bust time, and a time of plenty for the predators, as you would no doubt have been witnessing over the last few weeks with all the leopard activity that we've had around. Leopard, lion, everything. Cheetah, wild dog, as far as I hear. It's just been mad. Now, what I'd like to do today is find you a few of my favorite summer plants. What I found absolutely astounding coming into work today was the fact that from Hoedspruit, which is 100 kilometers from here, where the trees in my garden have finished flowering for the most part, as I come further east to Dixie Village, which is 10 kilometers west of where we are now, the trees stop flowering. And basically the landscape that you're having a look at now is what it was looking like in Hoedspruit about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm finding it actually quite bizarre quite a shock actually to have this very abrupt change of scenery. Now, James, you'd like to know when can we expect to see the dwarf boer bean flower? James, that comes out in summertime. We can expect to see them in a few weeks' time. We had our spring day on the 1st of September, and we expect our first rains to be anywhere around about the middle of October. Once those rains have come, the bush is really going to start to green up and to flower up, and we will start to see the dwarf boer beans flowering anywhere between sort of October and December. And I'm hoping that by the end of the drive today, I can show you a few of the flowering plants, not just a few knobthorns. I'm sure there's one or two that are flowering out here in a drainage line or two, but also a shambok pod perhaps, tree wisteria. Here's one of the most beautiful antelope that we have out here. This is a male nyala, a nyala ram, and an enormous one at that. I say this from time to time, and I know I repeat myself often, and please excuse me for this, but you know he's an old ram or old bull because the tips of his horns, the very tips of his horns, the last inch or so, are pointing away from one another. If they were pointing to one another, he'd be young. If they were pointing parallel to one another, he'd be a prime bull, a mating bull, but because they are pointing away from one another, he's an old bull. And because he's walking away and I called him Old Kirsty says I'm being nasty to him. We have James sneaking up behind us. I better make some space because otherwise he'll shout at me loudly and abruptly. I haven't quite decided where I want to go today. I think I want to head out to Buffelshoek Dam, so that's what I feel like doing. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do. Right. Why don't we go and see where James is going?
There's linking. Hello everybody, again, yes. We're just on our way towards Treehouse Dam now to see if we can't get lucky with some tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba that we were following there this morning. If you were on our rather frustrating bushwalk, we had plenty of tracks and absolutely no luck. So we're hoping to reverse that during the course of the afternoon. And as I said, it is a glorious temperature, and 30 degrees or 85 out here is really very nice indeed. Now I suppose one thing that we can do, we have, okay, so the poll results in 39% said Scoot, 22% said Nala, and Leslie got 39% as well, so we have a tie. Now, I don't know what to do now. I think we're going to have a... Oh, there's a giraffe. Let's think about it while we look at the giraffe. Hello. Good afternoon. Let's see what he's eating. He's eating flowers, and he's eating flowers of a russet bush willow. Now, he won't get easier nutrition than that. I don't think there are many chemical protective measures in the flowers, and there are no thorns on that tree at all. So unlike most of the year when he's having to rake his tongue over some very nasty spikes, this must be a wonderful time of the year for him. Can you hear the robin in the background going? And even a bulbul going. Now, a week ago, this time of the day was completely silent. He's also eating some of the pods, I see. He's not the neatest eater, is he? wouldn't want to take him to a state banquet at Buckingham Palace, quite apart from the fact that he'd probably struggle to get in the door. He's a wonderful old fellow. He's not looking in the greatest condition, and I think that's probably just because we've come to the end of the winter. If you look at his hips, they're sticking out a bit. He's also quite old. That is not a young giraffe, that. If we say that he could probably live about 20 years, I'd say he's probably about 16. Ron, I'm told that the giraffe's tongue from end to end is probably about 70 centimetres, which is just over 2 feet. So that's very long. Obviously it doesn't all come out of his mouth. Some of it stays in the same way that I guess yours and my tongues don't come all the way out. I think it's long, but it's nothing like as proportionately long as, say, a pangolin's tongue or a aardvark's tongue. Right here. I just wanted to quickly do this. I'm not sure what Kirsten said. What did she say? Did she say anything of use? No? Yes?
He's asking what is the ball up there.
What are the? The two things on top of the head. Those are ossicones, otherwise known as, I mean, yeah, they're sort of horns, really. They're slightly different, but they're used like horns. What I wanted to do was get all the pods of the different combretum that we get here. This is the red bush willow, Combretum apiculatum, and I've seen all of the leadwoods are now in pod as well, or in fruit, and so we'll see if we can find you some of those and show them to you, all the four-winged pods. So those are the red bush willows. Very fascinating, wasn't that, Senzo? Yes, I know. Right, let's put them over here so we don't lose them. And we'll get the rest as we go. All righty. Yes, Amy, they don't, well, no, they don't actually. Giraffes will eat pods and leaves when they can in the dry season, but they will also eat thorny, or the leaves of thorny trees during the wet season, during the growth season. This is Combretum herreroense. That's what that, oh, is it? Yes, it is. That's what the giraffe was eating now. You can see the difference in the pods. The russet bush willow and the red bush willow. Yes. Yes, now people are on the edges of their seats. So amazed and fascinated. Good. We have a few more to get. We need to get the variable, ideally the large fruited and the leadwood. I forgot to plug in. I'm sure Kirsten's shouting at me already. There we go. I'm in. Trevor, yes, a giraffe will eat fruit. They eat marula fruits, definitely. I don't know what their favorite is. I'm going to assume it's probably a marula fruit. I think any animal out here that eats fruit enjoys the marula more than it does any other fruit. So let's go with marula. They don't eat, I mean, I don't think I've seen a lot of them seeking out a huge amount of fruit. There's quite an interesting little situation playing out here. Over there, there's a giraffe. You see another one there, Senzo? Can you see it there? Straight through. There we go. And what he was doing actually was turning to face this one. And this one that we had no idea. But what's also interesting is that that giraffe seems to have its attention securely focused to its northern side. Now, why that should be, I don't know. Unless, perhaps, there is a predator there. Ah, right. So we're going to go on to the explanation as to the different bumps on the giraffe's head, because it had more than just the ossicones. What happens with a giraffe's skull is that it gets what is called either a median horn, or its skull starts to calcify with age. And so it starts to develop these bumps. And I think it happens in response to repeated collisions with probably other giraffes. And human skulls do the same thing. Footballers, for example, even though they wear helmets, rugby players who don't wear helmets, they have a thickening of the skull through repeated concussion. And I think that's why they get so much bigger, or why their skulls get those bumps on them. Here are some leadwood pods. And then we will go past this other giraffe again. He's also looking quite intently into the bush. So that's Combretum imberbe, the leadwood. Would you like to have a little comparison? Kirsten says they look like chips. Do they, Kirsten? I don't think that they do. Now, I know some of you are going to be falling off your seats. Just take a deep breath before you look at these. All right, take a deep breath. It's going to be overwhelmingly exciting. So I wish to warn those of you who are of an anxious disposition to just be careful when I reveal the comparison of all three of these. Whew. Oh, look at that. Leadwood to the right, red bush willow in the middle, russet bush willow to the left. Can you believe it? Goodness gracious. Now, we're very lucky. Very, very lucky. And if we think we can handle the adrenaline rush, we will try and find the large fruited bush willow and the variable bush willow. Indeed, Michelle, all different colours. All right, Senzo. Reminds me of our magic trick. Do you remember our magic trick?
Yeah.
It was very good, wasn't it? Senzo and I did a magic trick once on walk. No one could figure out how we did it. That's a lie. Everyone knew exactly how we did it. It wasn't very magical at all. All right, let's go across to Stefan Winterboer, whose consideration of the hole in the ozone layer is very different from mine. Ow.
I really don't understand James sometimes. It bothers me that, man, you know, the things that go through his head from time to time are truly amazing. Now, we found some zebra. We've been tracking these zebra. I hope to let you know there was some considerable skill, lasting about 1.5 minutes to finding this zebra. And since we don't see them very often, I thought that we'd come and bring you to them. The pajama donkey of Africa. One of my favorite. Very common thing to see when we're showing you pictures out of the Mara. But unlike the Masai Mara or Kenyan zebra, these ones have a shadow stripe. So if you go a little bit closer on their rump, you'll notice that there's a stripe between their solid black one and on their white one. That's called a shadow stripe. And only these southern Burchell zebra have that. And I also find them bigger for some reason. I think it's because they don't have to walk as far. You know, James can run far, far further and far faster than what I can. And it's because he's slightly smaller than I am. Let's have a look at that. A nice view. They've got like really tight bums, these these zebra. That one is showing us why he's so robust. Now, unlike those fat, skinny impala that we were looking at a little bit earlier, zebra are always fat and healthy. And the reason for that is because of a profound difference in their digestive system. Zebra are hind gut fermenters, which means that they can digest very quickly a large volume of poor quality grass, whereas the impala, as we were mentioning a bit earlier, are ruminants, which means that they take far longer to digest, far better, a higher protein grass. So they can utilize to the full extent the bush's bounty, but obviously the flip side of the coin to that is that when times are tough like now and nutrition is low, they are basically starving to death with full bellies, whereas zebra and warthog and hippo and rhinoceros don't have the same problem and always look much healthier at the end of a dry period than what impala do. And you can absolutely see that with the zebra. If an animal was skinny, their hips would... I'll explain what that zebra is doing there now, because he hasn't got something stuck in his tooth. What the hell is he doing? Now, sitting at home, wherever you're watching this, just run your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you'll notice that the roof of your mouth has a cleft in it. And if you run your tongue from your front teeth backwards, you'll notice that it reaches 2 points in the top part of your palate. Now, those are the vestigial pits in our mouths of the Jacobson's organs, and they are not vestigial in a zebra or a lion or a leopard, for that matter of fact, and they actually contain glands called, or organs called Jacobson's organs. I forget now what the gland is called. See, I don't do this often enough for my memory banks to stay charged. But in any case, it is a very, very sensitive olfactory sense, that, or organelle, that helps our sense of smell, and a very good chemical analysis gland, which allows us, or allowed us, to be able to, through urine testing, determine the hormonal status of adult females, in an effort to judge whether or not males needed to stick around, to press their suit, so to say. And that is what that zebra was doing. There was some urine on the floor there. He licked it up. He then passed it across that gland by flaring the top lip up. It opens that gland. The urine is then licked or passed onto that gland, and the brain then interprets the chemicals inside there, I suppose, as a mental picture, I would say. I mean, I've always wondered to myself, how would that come to you, I've passed the scent now into the roof of my mouth, and is it an epiphany? Ah, this female is, receptive. Is that the right word, David? Am I getting myself into trouble here? I know. I mean, can you imagine how profound a realization that must be like? I would imagine that there was some music accompanying it, or some ecstatic buzz in your ears. But zebra, Rosalind, you'd like to know how zebra fight off predators. Actually, a very nice question, that, Rosalind, because having a look at their big hindquarters, you can imagine how much muscle is inside there. If you open your arms nice and wide and then touch your fingertips together, that would encompass one zebra bum. So if you do this, that is one zebra bum, basically. And inside here is a bone and all the muscle. And all of this muscle goes through a tendon that's about this thick, so 2 thumbs worth. And that then attaches to a hoof, rock hard hoof, this big. You can imagine all that muscle attached to that thick cable of a tendon, pulling that hoof. It can arrive with some speed. So they've got this incredibly powerful kick that can actually kill a lion. We have seen on numerous occasions lions knocked in somersaults from zebra kicks. And that's for all zebra. Male zebra, in addition to their hooves, have sharp canine teeth. So not female zebra, just male zebra have these quite long, almost like vampire-ish canine teeth. They're the sharp teeth in your mouth, the vampire canines. And they use it to fight with one another, but they can also use it to bite at things. And I've seen zebra bite at cheetah, bite at leopard, even bite at lion. And they can inflict some damage as well. Let's go forward a little bit. Let's see. There's a zebra busy giving himself a bit of a mud bath. Now zebra do this sort of dust bathing thing quite often, where they will scrape off parasites that are sticking to their skin. Let's see if he does it again. Shara, you're asking a nice question as well. Do females also have the Jacobson's organs? Shara, I'm going to say yes, although to be honest with you, I don't really know the answer to that question right now. Let me kick it back up there. I want to say yes because it is present in lion and leopard, and I can't imagine why it would be vestigial amongst sexes in the rest of the mammals, because they don't just use it as a chemical analysis machine to judge hormonal status male to female, but they also do it to basically talk to one another. Lots of these animals have scent glands all over their body, and what they'll do is they'll use these various glands in a number of ways to leave telltale signatures around the bush, and you'll see lots of different animals making use of these signposts to figure out who is where, what they're doing, how old is the sign, how many animals are in this particular place, i.e. the likelihood of food being available or not. So I would imagine that, yes, it is absolutely present in both male and female zebra, as well as every other antelope that I've encountered out here. You'll notice that this has been burnt, and I'm quite glad to see that it's been burnt, in fact. This is a fire break. Now, since I've been employed with Wild Earth, which is going on, I think it's 4 or 5 years now, we haven't had a fire because we've been in a drought. The drought has meant that there hasn't been the grass cover through the summer to provide enough combustible material to present a danger. But let me tell you, in the 20 years I've been hanging around in the Kruger National Park, in this area, fire is a common winter occurrence and something that happens around about now, this time of the year, on an almost daily basis. And I'm very happy to see that this fire break is here. What you use a fire break for is a backburn. Now, for those of you who are lucky enough to live in areas where they farm sugarcane, I think that a sugarcane farmer and the staff that work for sugarcane farmers are true masters in the art of how to use fire, because they can burn a block out of a flammable block and not ruin another crop. It's just, I find it incredible. And what would happen on a little bit of a large scale, if I were to explain it. So this area here is devoid of any combustible material because it's been burnt. If a fire were to come from this area here and be blowing with the wind, that fire would be blowing in this direction at a pace that you wouldn't be able to drive as fast as. So what you'd do is you'd come into this area, and on that fringe there, you would light a fire into the wind. So it would burn towards the wildfire and eventually would burn into the wildfire and burn it out. And because you've got this fringe of grassless or fuel-less area, you are therefore saved from burning anything on this side of the road. So it's called a backburn, and you burn these quadrants and you burn these areas, usually adjacent to roads, all over the place out here. And I'm very happy to see it because they make fighting wildfires a lot easier. Now, why do we fight wildfires? Because fire is a natural part of the ecosystem here. That's also a very good question. Mainly to safeguard property and lives, to be honest with you. Fire is necessary here. Back in the old days, as everyone likes to say, wildfires that are set by lightning or set by methane explosions in compost heaps, or whatever, light being concentrated through a dewdrop, they used to run for weeks. Now you can imagine that the only thing that'll stop it is a big river system, a desert, wind changing direction, a sudden storm. That was the old controlling factors of fires. Nowadays, fires are stopped by tar roads, by people putting in fire breaks. Excuse me, that was a particularly aggressive fly that decided to do a lobotomy on me. Gee whiz, that was... I've lost my train of thought. Fire, yes. And so nowadays, wildfires are controlled because people don't want to lose their homes to uncontrolled fires. But because of that, we have to almost put in fires. So we have controlled burns. Controlled burns usually only happen in times when there is a certain amount of combustible material, you measure it in kilograms per hectare, present in the bush, and then managers of wilderness areas like this will set fires and artificially recreate nature. It's an endless study, I must be honest with you. It is quite fascinating. And there was an ecologist in the Kruger National Park called Vanessa Stradum, who basically for my entire time of knowing about her just studied fire. And she'd burn areas late, burn them early, burn them after rain, burn them before rain. She would, some elephant that went through there. She would burn them, leave them for 10 years, then burn them again, just a most amazing thing. And she came to the conclusion when I was living there that this sort of fire management thing is not set in stone, that there is a vast array of different ways of utilizing fire. But I have a tendency to ramble, and before I go on anymore, why don't we go see the tracks that James is looking at?
Let's go and see the track with James.
Right, we are going towards Treehouse Dam now, and there are tracks of these leopards all over the road. And interestingly, it looks like at least one track is on top of Herbert's track from this morning. And that's over here. Here. So I think that they are right here somewhere. Thandi and Tlalamba lurking about here. I mean, this really is very encouraging. Now here's another one on top of Herbert's track going that way, and I'm sure they must be going down into the drainage line, which means they were probably around here during this morning's walk at the waterhole. Now we had Thandi and Tlalamba and a male, which I'm assuming is Horsana. So what we're going to do now is look under every bush and on every termite mound. Shawnee, we do not know if Tingana Treat is killed, but I nearly said Sebastian. Steph is going in that direction. David was there this morning, and so he'll go there and check what's going on. Somewhere around here. I'm just going to quickly get on the radio. No, I need to. Let's just have a quick look over here. Yeah, that track's definitely on top. Definitely on top of Herbert's footprint from this morning. These leopards must have watched us walk past here. Surely we can find them on the back end of this sort of information. Surely. Let's just look around here briefly. The zebras have been here. The leopards going that way and back again. So what we'll do is we'll go around this block and see if we don't get lucky looking into the drainage line. Otherwise I will have to go for a small walksy. Failer Jerry, you're a new viewer and you make a very logical observation. You say that this place looks like it needs rain. This country looks like it needs rain. This is very normal for this time of the year. It is the dry season. We're just going into spring, so it's going to get pretty hot and it's going to get even drier. And it's totally normal at this time of year. And it does start to look like a bit of a desolate landscape as we go in towards October until the really good first rains come. In theory, that'll be somewhere around November, but it could be anywhere between now and November. But, you know, this is fine. The animals are used to this. There are rivers nearby. There is the Sand River nearby, which is a perennial river. And there are a couple of annual rivers too. But the animals generally drink from water holes around this area. Now, I'm going to guess that these cats are in this drainage line, so I'm going to go and have a look in there while we go across to Steph, who is at a waterhole. And the sun is very bright.
All right, we've just arrived at Buffelshoek Dam, and we've got a male leopard lying upside down on the floor. And literally, as Kirsty said, you going live, we spotted this yellow cat going here. Now, please take note of this, everyone, that I am allergic to finding cats. They are absolutely repulsed by me for some reason. So me finding one just off the cuff is a unique thing. Yeah, probably once or twice a year I'll be lucky enough to find a leopard. This looks like Hosanna. Please excuse me if I don't get it right. I don't see these animals often enough to actually be able to identify them fast at all. But judging from his size, judging from the area he's in, I would say that it's most likely to be young Hosanna, which is a young male that inhabits this area, was born in this area in fact, and is sub-adult, or adolescent is the better word. And just having a nice, the wind is picked up, and I think he's just enjoying the cooling effect of the wind on his belly, evaporating some of the sweat that he would have generated. And actually gave us a unique look at that belly pattern. It's actually quite rare to see a belly of a leopard. They don't expose it often. It's not like a lion, for instance, who will lie on their backs all exposed. Leopard very rarely turn on their backs like that. So a nice view. Oh, he's in good condition there. I can't remember the last time I saw him. No. I can't remember the last time I saw Hosanna. I actually, you know, here's a duiker coming from the back. So we've got a duiker coming through the thicket just behind him. Leopard are complete opportunists. Now, what I'm expecting this duiker to do is come around this bush, see an upside down leopard, and then become a grey streak through the bush. Let's just see which path this duiker takes. They're quite shy. I doubt that it'll come into the open on this game path, and therefore might circumvent this leopard. No danger of it being killed yet. Yeah, I've also lost view of the duiker. I think it's gone down into the drainage line, in fact. Anyway, we'll see if it pops out in a little bit. Wow, what a lucky find. That's a treat, I must be honest with you. Kirsty says that all of you are really enjoying all the different sleeping positions that he's showing to us or displaying to us. I must agree, I quite enjoy the fact that he's a bit of a show pony, this leopard. But for the last couple of months almost, I've almost exclusively only watched him on the screen. And seeing how big he's become up close and personal is actually quite a surprise. I'm just trying to think back on the last time I saw him. I think the last time I saw him was on foot on Twin Dams Road with Herbie, where we had him hiding away from us behind some tiny scraggly little bush. There we go. For those of you who enjoy rare photographs or screenshots of leopard, when he lies back and exposes his belly again, definitely get your fingers ready, because it's not often that you get to see an upside down leopard. No, he's just decided, because I tried to predict that, of course he's not going to do that. Max, Mom, you want to know if cats sweat? Yes, they do sweat. They don't sweat as profusely as what we do. Humans are one of the few species on Earth that have developed the ability to sweat out a lot of fluid, and so we do sweat a lot more than leopard do, but they do sweat, absolutely. Very similar to your house cat. If you put your house cat in a hot room, you'll notice that, especially on their belly and on their chests, they will start to sweat quite a lot, and this breeze must be lovely for him on his belly now, evaporating off of his skin, cooling him down. As mentioned when we came out here a little bit earlier, it's about 86 odd degrees centigrade, and it is 4:15 in the afternoon, and it was about 10 degrees warmer about 45 minutes to an hour ago as well. So I'm quickly going to have to just call this in on the radio. It is part of my friendly duties that I do here to the greater guiding community. There's not that many people around, and so it is actually quite difficult to find these animals. So if you just excuse me for 1 sec while you have a look at the sleeping Hosanna, I'm just going to call this in. On mobile stations, we have a single male leopard stationary at Buffelshoek Dam. It's just myself, Stefan, in this particular location. No one on standby, no one on approach. So everyone has their own style based on years of experience at different places. And I have my particular style, and everyone else has theirs, I suppose. It looks like Hosanna. And you're welcome to do that. You'll be the second vehicle in this position, and when you have visual, please take over the management of the sighting. That allows me to freely speak to you without being bothered by multiple calls to come and have a look. Obviously, a leopard is a very rare thing to see, and although you see them fairly often on SafariLive, and we see them very often in the Sabi Sands, it is a place that has an incredibly high density of leopard sightings. Not necessarily the highest density of leopard, but definitely a high density of leopard sightings, and we're very, very blessed to see leopard that are so relaxed with vehicles in the presence of people. Now you'll notice, if you can hear a little bit, you'll notice that the birds around him are calling. I don't know if you can. Kirsten, we have... So that chirping that you're hearing, that is the birds giving an alarm call because they're watching him. And when we're walking around in the bush, your subconscious picks up these little signs. And after many years, you start to realize that the bush is speaking to you in a language that you didn't even realize. And it's because you're subconsciously picking up the fact that these birds are calling when they're seeing a leopard, and this has this particular tone and timbre and frequency, and another bird species has it. And you'll notice, I've noticed that Brent and in particular Tristan have an incredibly well-developed sense of this language, and it is why they are so good at finding these cats. They obviously have an interest in it, and they've got an aptitude for it, and they've learned how to listen. Really awesome. What a treat. I know we've been seeing a lot of leopard lately, everyone. What I'd like to do is just point out the fact that this time of the year, the frequency of leopard sightings increases because the bush is less thick and less dense. Also, they know that it's easier for them to catch prey that are drawn to the last few sources of water. And so if they just hang around these water sources, they can usually catch enough food to get themselves by relatively easily. And as soon as it starts to green up and animals start to disperse into the areas that now have water and where vegetation isn't as abused, they have to travel a lot further between meals, and the frequency of their sightings definitely, or the frequency between their it decreases. And so we've been blessed, and it will change by January and February, I promise. Roshni, you would like to know, a leopard this relaxed, what type of effort did it take to habituate this animal to people? Roshni, that is such a big question to answer, because what I'd like to say to start the conversation is that a habituated animal is not a tame animal. There's a very big difference between a tame animal, an animal that is domesticated, versus an animal that is just used to the fact that this particular shape doesn't offer them any type of harm or threat. Now, knowing that differentiation, knowing the fact that we don't tame these animals, we don't train them, we don't tame them, they're not domesticated whatsoever. They're habituated. And what that means is that this shape, this vehicle and its occupants and the way it behaves is not threatening. And that is something that every guide that drives around here in this area and in the greater area as well, it develops a skill for over the years. And you can have policies and procedures, and there we go. Get ready, take your shots. Upside down leopard on the ground. That is a rare occurrence. Oh, beautiful coat. So it's the way you behave as a group of people using the area, and then you can have, in certain areas, you can increase the detail and the complexity at which you interact with these animals. You know, you don't face them, and you create distance rings around them, and so on and so forth. But in my experience, it's just it's a general but very well practiced and rehearsed set of moves around these animals from a very young age, that just lets them grow up believing that, you know, you've got no harm. Similar to how you walk down the road and a bus approaches you down a bus lane. You just know that the bus is not going to jump out of the lane, probably, and it's not going to smash you down, probably, but it's this enormous thing that's quite scary. Step out of line and it will squash you. And the same thing with a leopard. If you behave in a manner that is not within that guideline, this animal will show you precisely why it is one of the most dangerous of all animals on the planet to human beings, and would dispatch a person in mere seconds. So, very big distinction there between habituation and habituated animals and domesticated animals. And you'll notice that from time to time, our guides and others will tell everyone on the vehicle, sit still, don't move, don't make eye contact, be careful. You must have picked up in past experiences with us when all of a sudden you turn up the tense knob, or you turn up the switch on the intensity of a sighting. It's the way an animal looks at you, their body posture, and that is exactly the line that you've crossed. Now, this animal is very relaxed. Far away, a leopard on its back, belly exposed, that is pretty much the most exposed that a cat can get, and that couldn't be a greater sign of how relaxed this animal is with us. But Someone that isn't so relaxed is James, I'm sure, because he's been tracking for quite some time now. I would imagine that his frustration levels are rather high.
See how high my frustration levels are. We've got more tracks going up and down, and we've just got some birds alarm calling in here. So I thought we'd stick our heads in here. I'm extremely surprised to hear that Hosanna is at Buffelshoek Dam. There are tracks of a male here, somewhere. Some very, very angry birds in this area, and tracks heading this way. You can have a look at this large fruited bush willow if you like, while we go. Isn't that amazing, Senzo? I'm holding it. You mean like that? We'll just have a quick look down here, because here be a thicket that leopards like to hang around in. Oft times have we seen them around this termite mound. But today it seems to be a leopard-free vicinity. Of course, it is quite warm, and so these kitties will be very flat wherever they are, in some deep shade. It is relatively frustrating, this I must confess. We had so many tracks, probably too many actually, going up and down. Difficult to tell which ones are fresher than which ones. Let me just stop here and we'll have a listen, see if there is any alarming. We'll do the fourth and final installment of the Combretum story. James, it is not too early to see a leopard orchid. It's certainly too early to see them in flower. I think that's probably what you meant. They're not flowering yet. Look at that, Senzo. Isn't that amazing? Utterly astonishing stuff. Oh, those two are the same. All right, so what we have is, of course, the red bush willow. That's it. The leadwood, Combretum imberbe. The russet bush willow, Combretum herreriense. And the large-fruited bush willow, Combretum zayeri. Ta-da! Right, while we wait to see if any leopard alarm calls, Senzo and I are going to perform our magic trick again. Are you ready, Senzo? Do you see this pod? It is a normal pod. Oh, there's a lot of glare. That's okay. I'll put it in front of me. How's that? Yes? Do you see? Normal pod. No strangeness about it. Okay? Are you sufficiently zoomed in, Senzo? Right, everybody. Behold. This pod will now disappear. I will say the magic word, Zumbarumba, Hunkabari, Sung Klemoshta. Wasn't that amazing? Magic. I told you I was a magic trickster. Unfortunately, nothing has managed to alarm call. Zumbarumba. That's all I remember of the magic word, actually. It means that I will never be able to perform it again. So they've been going up and down towards the waterhole here, which tells us that there has been some kind of a murder in the vicinity. And that has necessitated the movement to and from water. There's nothing that fresh going back across this road though, but there are some tracks going back across this road. Senzo, did you not film that magic trick correctly? Because it seems like people think they know how I did it. They're just claiming. Oh, all right. They're just claiming they could see me drop it. Because of course I didn't drop it, did I? I made it disappear. Yeah. Yes. B Monitor, apparently your profundity for the afternoon is dude. I don't know what that means. Gerald, yes, I probably could make an elephant disappear. I'm not going to, though, because they're semi-endangered. So, you know, if they weren't, obviously I'd happily make an elephant disappear. But, you know, because they are semi-endangered, I'm not going to. But obviously I could. I can only do the trick once every 6 months, though, so I won't be able to make anything else disappear. All right, let's go back to Steph, who magically found himself a leopard earlier on.
I did magically find myself a leopard, and arguably simply because I really battle to recreate these moments of tracking, I don't know what you call them, surprises. It is a magic trick. It is magic. James, I hear, is not doing so well with his magic tricks, which is unfortunate because he's actually quite a good magician. I think he just needs to practice a little bit more. Maybe the nerves got to him. Now we've repositioned slightly just to give you a slightly better view. And also David was saying that the wind on top of the dam wall was shaking the camera a little bit. And now we've got a slightly more level view of him. And you can see that he's having a bit of a dream. You can see that he's in twitchy mode. I wonder what he's dreaming at the moment. You think galloping after lame impala? I don't quite know. But you can see there the very wide forearms. And that very thick neck and thick chest that is so characteristic of a pouncing, stalking predator. And those forearms there, that's where all the muscles and tendons lie that extend the claws and keep the toes together and enable them to grasp so hard and so fast onto potential prey items, and also what allows them to climb up trees as well. That thick neck, round head. Their skulls are actually almost triangular. And a large crest running down the middle of their head. Incredibly large attachment points on their cheeks for the muscles that close their jaws. They can hold tight. Fly bothering you. There we go. Just look at that long tail as well. Bobby, you'd like to know my opinion on the phenomenon that we've been witnessing recently about this leopard family, Tingana and Tandi and Hosanna and Plalamba, seeking one another out, and what would seem like actively looking for each other's company. Ooh, that is another difficult question for me to just answer. I think it's quite common. I think it's more common than what we give it credit for. Have I witnessed it often, even when I was commercially guiding, which means I was out every single day for years and years on end? No. So it's not commonly seen, but I do believe that it is fairly common. And I think that the frequency that we've been out and the hours that we've been out over the last couple of months have led to this discovery where we're witnessing these animals together more of the time at different times of the day when we would not necessarily have been out before. Have I seen it represented in tracking sequences which tell a much broader story. Obviously, you've got a timeline when you're tracking something. Quite often you'll see male and female leopard tracks intersect and even follow one another for a bit. It's very difficult to judge, you know, a minute from an hour. Well, no, not quite a minute, but let's say 15 minutes to an hour in a track that's had some wind going over it. So I would, before this season, I would have told you that no, it's not common at all. But I can't imagine why it wouldn't be. All these animals are without doubt a lot more connected than what we give them credit for. And I'm talking about even interspecifically, the elephants that are common to this area, hippo, rhinoceros, even to an extent crocodile and lion and leopard in particular. Hyena, they know one another and they interact with one another a lot more than what we think they do. And seeing leopard together as a family, as long as they're not competing for a scarce resource, I would imagine that there would be a bond there. And, you know, let's group what scarce resources are. Scarce resources is food, obviously, and mating rights. Now, Thandi has a young cub. She's not receptive to, or her body's just not producing the hormones that it would if she didn't have a cub. Hosana is still a young male. He's not receptive to any females. He's not feeling the pull of testosterone and the urge of estrogen. Or is it the other way around? The pull of estrogen and the urge of testosterone. And so he's still basically a young man, teenager for lack of a better word. And I think just happy to be around company. Nothing really likes to be on its own. I don't think, at least anyway. Maybe because it's being on my own is such a profoundly alien thing. A very difficult question to answer that, to be honest. Have I seen lots of leopard together before? Yes. The most leopard I ever saw together in once was a male, a female, and her two almost full-grown cubs in the same tree. So 4 almost full-grown leopard in the same tree feeding on the same carcass. You've been lucky enough to witness over the last couple of weeks 4 leopard plus on numerous occasions. I think that the dynamic will change. I think that as young Kalamba gets a little bit older, when he's around about 2, Thandi's body is going to start to change again, and she's going to, her hormones are going to change, and she's going to become receptive again, which will increase the aggression in the dominant male leopard that is in this area at that time. If it's still Tingana and he's able to defend his territory against rival males, then he will get mating rights again. But that scent is going to be irresistible to large males, which will come in. Specifically, though, adolescent male leopard are, I think, just by nature, smaller than their fathers in their natal ranges, and so they'll be outcompeted. Even though he might be receptive to his mom's hormonal status, he will absolutely be intimidated by larger male leopards, and it's good that that happens, because obviously interbreeding is to be avoided if it can be. And so he will be forced to leave the natal area. He might come back again. I mean, we've seen that as well, to my astonishment, and I'm sure yours as well, over the last couple of years. We've seen young male leopard leave and then come back again after their mothers have got new babies. Yeah, it's just a weird dynamic. I mean, I must be honest with you, we reflect on it quite often at the dinner table and at the breakfast table, guides together. It's just weird, you know. It's going to be nice, you know, in your recollection of this time specifically at Djuma and on SafariLive, you'll be able to recollect with fondness over the next couple of years and months to when we had all these leopard together and how unique the sighting was. And definitely it's a noteworthy experience, absolutely. Right, let's go and see what James has found.
Well, yes, indeed. We've had some more tracks. We went towards a termite mound, which we thought we'd left this morning. but there was nothing further over there, so I'm afraid I cannot offer you anything further in the way of information as to where these cats are, which is irritating in the extreme. Anyway, we'll probably start casting our net slightly wider now and go towards Twin Dams. There are still some alarm-calling birds around this area. Chin-spot batises mainly.
All right, now bringing you a live high-definition feed from the middle of the bush does sometimes bring with it its glitches, and that was one. Crashing away from James like that and being thrown back into my car is just one of those ways that we get over that. He'll be back in a second and I'm sure carry on with whatever he was talking about. In the meantime, we've got a male leopard called Hosana. He is a sub-adult or adolescent male leopard that lives in this area and is the is the son of the dominant male leopard in this area. And we fondly call him the Duke of Djuma. His name's Tingana. And he's been around here for more than a decade already. Now, leopard in the wild tend to live anywhere from about 12 to about 16 years, with the oldest leopard that I've ever heard of being just shy of 20. So he's definitely, you know, if you can imagine living out here on your wits for the last 10 years plus, it's a feat there that is astounding. It's definitely not an easy thing to do. And it just takes one mistake and it's all over. Things that end it for leopard are injury and competition. Lion and hyena will not give up the opportunity to kill a leopard if they possibly can. And then competition between one another for breeding rights in females. Big male leopards of the same size can injure one another and injure one another enough so that they are unable to hunt. And with metabolisms like they have, within 2 weeks or so, a leopard can starve to death if they've got themselves a massive injury that they can't fix themselves of. And so it's tough being a leopard. It's not an easy thing. Big Bucks, you'd like to know if a leopard, this particular leopard, is in more danger because it's sleeping so soundly and on the ground. I would imagine that's in any subconscious level. So whether you're sleeping deeply or whether you're just snoozing, or whether you're in very deep sleep, that you're at some risk because you're not aware of what's going on. And if the wind changes and brings the scent of this leopard down, carries it downwind to a lioness or a lion, and they sneak up and come around this bush and catch him unable to get away quick enough, they will kill him. Generally speaking, though, that by the time leopard get to this particular area, they're so plugged in and so aware of their surroundings that sneaking up on them is a very difficult thing to do. Very rare, in fact, will a leopard be snuck up on. Not impossible, and obviously it happens more often than not. We have leopard here, they go missing all the time, we never see them, and you never know what happens to those animals. It's a mystery. This leopard's mother was one of those. Her name was Karula, and she also disappeared one day. We watched her walking down a road one afternoon, next day, gone. Don't know what happened to her at all. Whether she mistimed a jump, got bitten by a snake, got sick with some disease, got eaten by lions, killed by a hyena, we just don't know. I was just sitting over here watching this leopard and, just basically mulling over how special this particular sighting is and how special we've been to be part of this leopard's life over the last couple of months and years. The pet trade, or the trade, not the pet trade, the trade in animal products for leopard skins has increased dramatically over the last couple of years for some reason that I'm unaware of at the moment. And it is just such a sad thing. I can see how beautiful that coat is, and I can see how someone who, you know, would want to wear something like that because it symbolizes some sort of strength and beauty and power and I don't know, you know, draw what word you would from it. But oh man, these guys are under an increasing amount of pressure outside of the reserves. Leopard and cheetah are the only large cats in the world to have significant numbers outside of national parks and protected areas. And in fact, it's quite frequent for there to be reportings and sightings of leopard even into... There we go, he's having a look up there. Something disturbed him. Oh, it's a squirrel that's just busy alarm called. That is amazing. So he lifted up his head because a squirrel had started to alarm call about 200 or 300 meters away. He obviously understands squirrel language better than I can and discounted it as nothing. Wow. Now James is having some issues with his vehicle at the moment, and so he won't be able to finish his story just yet. So luckily we have a leopard to show you, otherwise you'd be staring at the back of my bald head trying to see the reflection of David and his camera in my bald shiny spot. Now, some of you might be wondering what happened to the Mara this afternoon, since we've been bringing you shows from there and here for the last couple of weeks now. In a nutshell, we've given Brent and Jamie the afternoon off, as well as the rest of the team up there. And we did it because they've really been pounding out the hours up in the Mara. It is an incredibly difficult place to bring you a show like we do from. Long hours in the seat, and Jamie and Brent needed some time off, as did a couple of the other crew members there. And so we've given them the time off to go and just spend some time together and get some rest and relaxation, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that they deserve it, and I hope they're having a good time, basically. And then Sydney, he had to rush off today. He will be gone for a few days, and so basically you've got myself and James for the next couple of days. I'm sure Brent and Jamie will be back on show again tomorrow. James and I find each other in these situations quite often, where the two of us are the only ones on drive. Now, Brandon, you'd like to know if a snake bite would kill a leopard? Absolutely. I can't remember the exact unit of measurement that we measure toxicity in snakes, but you know, let's call it milligrams per, or milliliters per kilogram, or whatever, you know, the amount of milliliters of venom to kill 1 kilogram of human or 1 kilogram of mammal or whatever. And they use a unit of measurement in mice. And for instance, most of the world's most venomous snakes are in Australia. In fact, the top 8 most venomous snakes in the world are in Australia. But we have some snakes here that have enough venom of sufficient potency to kill many dozens of men, and therefore even a simple bite, although leopard are much stronger than what we are, even a simple bite would be enough to kill them. So snakes like the black mamba, snouted cobra, which are your more aggressive snakes here, puff adder, they're your more aggressive snakes. They absolutely will be able to kill a leopard. And then in terms of venomous snakes, the boomslang is one of the most venomous snakes that we have here. In fact, in the top 10 of venomous snakes in the world. But quite timid. I doubt a leopard would find it easy to be bitten by a boomslang. But who knows, you know, if they were playing with one and they ended up getting tagged, it would be enough to kill them. Do we find a lot of dead leopard out here? No. I was just busy speaking to David about how very different... Oh, look, there he goes. Now, as it's starting to cool down, he will get more and more active. Leopard are nocturnal, and well, actually they're not nocturnal. They're crepuscular beings into nocturnal. In actual fact, there's a term that I read the other day, but for the life of me I can't remember what it is, that describes the activity periods of a leopard. But they will sleep at night time, but they tend to move when it is cooler, and when it is cooler is usually dark, and they're more successful at hunting when it's darker as well. So leopard generally move when it's cold, and when it's dark, and therefore when it's dark. You do find leopard that walk around in the middle of the day when it's, you know, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit as well. So it's by no means a hard and fast rule, that, but they are covered in fur. They've got a fairly large body mass. They can absolutely die from heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and so you generally find them moving around when it's cooler, more so than we do in the middle of the day. And so as it drops down now, probably in the upper 60s, lower 70s now, and the temperature's decreasing rapidly, you'll probably find that he'll start to get more and more active, and hopefully catches something quite nice to eat tonight. He's not hungry by no means. He's in very, very good shape. Leopard that are hungry have concave bellies. The legs, thigh bones stick out, hips stick out. Miss Anna, you'd like to know if I've made a plaster of Paris paw print from Husana's tracks yet? No, I haven't, to be honest with you. The last one that I made was with you, and I made it of Tandi's foot, and I tried to make one of Tingana's foot, but it didn't come out very well. The one of Tingana, the soil wasn't the right type of soil, and I didn't put enough plaster of Paris in it, so you could basically see it, but it was quite a poor representation. The one I did of Tandi's foot was beautiful, and if I find, I have a box of plaster of Paris in my room. I'll actually pack it in tomorrow, and if we find a nice track of Husana, I'll absolutely make a track for you. I like making plaster of Paris tracks. I hope that I've inspired some of you to take plaster of Paris out and go and do whatever track you can, from cat tracks to mouse tracks to dogs and anything else that you have, deer tracks around. It's quite a nice activity, especially for youngsters. They really enjoy it. Another quite rare look at this leopard is the necklace of spots that they have on their neck. You don't often see that necklace of spots from any other angle except the one that we have now. And usually it's obstructed by a branch when you are at this angle to a leopard. And so that's actually quite a nice picture there. I don't know what that reminds me of. Weird beard. Very cool picture. James is returning to camp so that Conrad the magician, another magician in the ranks, can work his magic on James's vehicle. I'm sure he'll join us as soon as he can. In the meantime, we're very lucky to have this leopard. Otherwise, we would be driving around it. Smoky McPods, you would like to know if leopards eat bird eggs. They absolutely do. Leopard have one of the widest ranging diets that I've ever encountered. They'll eat birds' eggs if they come across them. They'll eat chicks of birds. They'll catch birds. They will eat fish. They will eat frogs. They will dig out catfish in mud. They will catch fish in ponds. They will eat snakes, lizards, toads, tortoises. They will eat every size mammal that you can think of, and they can catch everything from the tiniest mouse, mongoose, steenbok, duiker, impala, kudu. I've even seen a leopard jump onto a giraffe. I didn't quite know what he did, but this crazy leopard that was down south of here jumped on a giraffe. You have leopard, I've seen buffalo calves in trees up on the Limpopo River. They will take buffalo I've seen leopard co-feeding on a rhino carcass. It didn't kill the rhino, but I've seen leopard co-feeding on a rhino carcass and a full-grown giraffe carcass as well. So, just to answer your question, they will eat whatever they can, everything basically. And Kirsty's just reminded me that we've actually seen this young leopard eating a baby buffalo. I watched the most amazing, I can't for the life of me remember what the title of I want to say Relentless Enemies is the title of the DVD I watched the other day with my son, which basically detailed the life of these lion prides that live off of incredibly large herds of buffalo on the Cylinder Spillway, which joins the Savuti Marsh to the Okavango Delta. And these lions follow these buffalo around, but because there's so many buffalo around, leopard have also learned how to hunt these buffalo, and they showed the most unbelievable footage of a leopard following around a herd of buffalo and waiting for mothers to stash their calves in thickets, and would basically then go and hunt these thickets and catch these buffalo calves. So you had this herd of buffalo, which you'd normally associate lions with these herds of buffalo, followed around by this really big male leopard. And because there was so much food around, the leopard and the lion left one another alone. So the leopard hunted for buffalo calves. The lions were really healthy and hunted the adult buffalo in the herd. And yeah, this leopard just figured out. Here, the old leopard, generally become master thieves like Tingana. And, that is beautiful. Now, with the exception of caracal, leopard have the largest canines to head volume of any of the large cats. Only the caracal cat has larger canines than a leopard. And if you look very carefully, you can sometimes see their canines sticking out of their bottom lip. Gives them a very demonic look from time to time. Look at those whiskers. Fantastic. Bongo, you'd like to know if leopard walk on their tiptoes? So Bongo, if you put your hand down on the floor next to you, put your hand down on the floor, spread your fingers slightly apart, lift your thumb up, and then arch your palm off of the floor. So flat down, lift your thumb off of the floor, and then arch your palm into a concave shape. That is basically a leopard's foot. So I suppose, yes, they do walk on their tiptoes. Here he goes. What's happening here now? Just turning around. Now, for those of you who are able to go back in the photos that you've just taken of this particular male, go and correspond him in exactly the same position now, with his back to you, and what he was like when his belly was to us now, that white blaze that he has, and go and have a look at how fantastic his camouflage actually is. I mean, we're not looking at a different leopard, we're just looking at a different side of the same leopard, and the side that is presented to prey when they are hiding in the bush in the dark. That spotted coat is called disruptive patterning by I suppose when you're discussing or describing camouflage. And what it does is it breaks up the outline or the profile. So go to the back leg where he's breathing like that, and you'll notice it's actually very difficult to tell the difference, or very difficult to tell the edge of his body, as opposed to the grass there. Not on the sand below him, but on the grass that's on his upper edge. And you'll see that it's very difficult to actually distinguish a line. Now, when you're in the bush, it is your profile, your outline, your silhouette that gives you away. And this spot patterning on the leopard has evolved to disrupt that outline, that silhouette, and that pattern. And it is the most effective thing that you've ever imagined. Can you imagine in the dark, dappled light with the moon, some sunlight, this animal would be invisible. And the amount of times we've walked straight past leopard, obviously a very difficult thing to do with Herbie, who's got, I don't know, Eyes of the Wolf or whatever it was. It was a popular cartoon when I grew up. Yeah, he has some eagle eyes. Herbie's very in tune with the spot patterns of a leopard, but their coat is really, really effective at breaking up that outline and that profile. Stretched out, tail out, fantastic. Cindy, you've asked a nice question. Do I think that there's an evolutionary purpose to the necklace? Cindy, I'm going to say, where are you going now? I'm going to say that it probably has something to do with camouflaging his neckline, so that there we go, he's now showing us exactly what leopard do. Wake up and disappear. What are you going to do, boy? Where are you going to go? I think he might walk up the other side. I'm hoping that he does. He's sniffing the bushes there. Just have a look at how almost invisible he became. Now, Cindy, I think it's got to do with the pattern changing on his coat from his belly onto his neck and his head. And I think similar to a man's beard line. You know, next time you have a look at a guy's beard who's groomed his beard incredibly well, ask them to lift their head up and it looks weird. There's this weird line that gets drawn on their throat. And when you look at them like it was meant to be, otherwise, you know, in other words, face on or even side on, it looks normal. But as soon as a person with a groomed beard lifts their head up, it changes the shape of that beard and their face profile. It makes it look almost comical. At least to me it does anyway. And I think that we're seeing the same thing. I think that necklace is designed to disrupt and break up the white patterning on the belly. And I think just because we were looking at him in a very weird way, we saw that you know, it was just stark and it was standing out. That's at least what I feel anyway. Just look at how quickly he just melted into the bush. Now he's still standing there. I wonder what he's going to do. We're not going to get going just yet because I think he is going to disappear here in an instant. Romit, you'd like to know if a leopard is a worse hunter than a cheetah or a lion? Romit, from the information that I have, cheetah are far more successful percentage-wise than leopard are. Leopard are only slightly more successful than what lion are, but by factors of quite some margin. A lion and a leopard are about 25% successful. So in other words, oh, that's why he moved. He was going to get chased. There's some elephant that have snuck up behind us. And he heard them and then moved. And I actually think that he's probably going to end up spending some time on the side of this drainage line. What I don't want to do is lose him, so I think we're going to go forward a little bit. And let's see if we can just keep him in view. These animals have, particularly around me, at least anyway, the ability to disappear and then never to be seen again. Alrighty, just watch your head there, Dave. So I think that he just got out of the way of these elephants, but what you might find is it just sort of galvanized him to move and hunt. He's not particularly hungry, as I mentioned before, but he could definitely do with a meal. And let's see if he's going to come out here. I think he's just hiding around the corner here. All right, now you are stuck with me while we just look for Hosanna, because James is still working some magic on his vehicle and trying to make sure that that he comes back to us. Right now, what we're doing is we've just lost this male leopard, and I don't think he's actually gone. I just think he's around the corner. So what I'm going to do is just give him a few minutes just to come out of this side. Oh, there he is. Okay, got him. He's actually on the dam wall. He's come out. He's wanting to see what those elephants are up to. I should have listened to David. David said, you just stay here. He'll come. He misses the camera, and he's just going to come out and come visit. So my fault. Inexperience. Right, so hopefully we're going to be able to see leopard and elephant in the same place, which would be quite nice. It's not every day that you get to see a picture like that. So whole times that we get an opportunity to show you something like that, let's see what we're going to be able to get. Right, David, I don't want to drive over him, so... Oh, there he is. Got it? We've just got some sharp branches here that have a tendency to sort of, as you drive past them, take with bits and pieces of your vehicle, generally speaking, important bits of electronic wires that, you know, and without James around at the moment, that would be a schoolboy error. Alright, so what I'm going to try and do here is see if I can get you a picture of him. We won't be able to get you a two-shot of these animals, unfortunately. They are swimming just below us. But what I will do is take you to a point where we can have the option of seeing both. How'd you like that, David? Sounds good. Alrighty, he is moving, which means that I think he's going to go too far, but let's have a look at these ellies quickly, and then I'll keep an eye on him. You can have a look at the elephant for a bit. Feel that wind just come straight up again. It's a nice view. Small herd of ellies. From the looks of things, they are all males, and that is not uncommon. There's a lot of tracks of elephants around this area. In fact, I was hoping to see some elephant this afternoon. And it's not uncommon for large groups of elephant to shed their young adolescent males, and they sort of hang around at the back of the group, tussling with one another, and then come and drink and sort of, you know, just trail in the herds aftermath. It's a little bit less competition for food. You can see how the elephant's feet and pads have compressed the soil on the edge of this rapidly drying up Buffelshoek Dam. Now, we're not too far away from the next rains. They come sort of mid-October, mid to late October, depending on the year. Everyone's predicting a pretty average year, which means that we should get between sort of 400 and 600 millimeters of rain. Now, we're not the only ones watching these elephants. Hosanna is also watching them. Hello. Hi. And they're going to go up now. Move away. Elephants don't really pose a threat to leopard, although I would imagine that if a leopard were caught unawares and there was some scared elephant around, that they would trample and if they could, they would hurt him. He's obviously too world-wise to get bothered by any of them, and so I doubt that he's got anything to worry about. There are others in the sighting with me, so if you are hearing vehicles, it's because we share this area with other safari goers. And so you might hear them from time to time when we get a bit closer. You can see this elephant now splashing mud up on its body. They battle to stay cool, and it's one of the reasons why they've evolved those huge radiator ears. And we see with the FLIR camera that we have out sometimes how effective those radiators are. But even those radiators will sometimes battle to cool the elephant down sufficiently. And on a hot day like today, splashing the flanks, head, belly, and sides, and behind the ears is a very good way of cooling the body down rapidly. This elephant is enjoying what would basically be the same as having an ice-cold beer after, I don't know, a run or a hot day. Intense pleasure. Or an ice-cold something. Nikki, the only real way to tell the ages of an elephant is to have a look at their teeth. They get 6 sets of teeth that come out at very specific times in their life. And so you'd need to open the mouth and you'd need to see which set of teeth the elephant are. But because that is a sure way to get your head pulled off your shoulders and then used as a tennis ball, what we do is we basically use our experience to say that looks like a 12-year-old or that looks like a 16-year-old elephant, and we'd base it on knowing some facts, so when an elephant was born or knowing how old an elephant was when it died, and then we extrapolate from that. So these particular, sorry, I'm just watching Hosanna. He's coming right past us. Let's go back to him. He's now decided that he's not walking in the opposite direction. He's walking towards us. Sorry to rip you away from those elephant, but we've got an epic sighting here where we don't quite know what to look at. He's now seen which direction the elephant are moving, and he's quite cleverly decided that he'd walk in exactly the opposite. Have a look at that necklace on his neck there. You can see as he walks, you can see what I was meaning about the difference in this coat pattern from belly to back skin. And so I hope that makes sense. Now, let's see what we can do here. See if I can get you a nice shot of him looking at the elephant. Now he's not another one of these adaptations. He's not going right on top of the dam wall where he'd be in stark relief against the sky. He's not doing it cognizantly, but he's not silhouetting himself. And you'll see that repeated on termite mounds as well. So the fact that the dam wall is curved and he goes into that low slung position with his ears flat as he crests is basically just him trying not to silhouette himself at all. Oh, that's beautiful light on him. So take some screenshots. Oh, there we go. We've lost the ability there. That mark that you had there was just the aerial. It's how we bring you, well, it's actually how we get our radio signals. What are you going to do, boy? Alrighty, let's see if we can reverse now. He's given us some space. I must agree with you there that I also think that he's very pretty. He's a beautiful male cat. Let's take it down. Let's go. Alright. Let's see if we can get you a 2-shot. Miss Anna, you'd like to know if he's smelling for where Tingana is. I think there's a good chance that he is. Tingana is not too far away from here with that Nyala kill, and I think that the intention might be that he goes there. I would imagine so. I can't imagine why he wouldn't. Let's see if we can get you a 2-shot of him with some elephant. It would be quite nice. So that's what we wanted to show you there. Isn't that awesome? Now that you have to save. That is quintessentially a dry season shot, and really you're gonna battle to get a nicer picture, you know. There we go. Awesome. Isn't that just fantastic? You know, I'm not one for leopard sightings, I must be honest with you. I'm not very good at finding them, and so I haven't developed a taste for them like Tristan and Brent had. But I definitely can appreciate something as nice as what you've just witnessed over there. All right, let's see what else he's going to get himself up to. So to come back to whether or not he'll end up at Tingana, I think that there's a good chance that if the wind is blowing from Tingana to here, that he will end up there at some point. I can't imagine why he wouldn't want to do that. And I'm just going to put us into a position here where we can see them. Why don't we go and see what James is up to, since he's managed to, from the sounds of things, fix himself.
Well, yes, we're back up and running, which is good news. We had a power issue, so I'm sorry about that. And now it is fixed, thanks to Konrad. And our search for Thandi and Tlhalamba must now recommence. I'm becoming a little bit obsessive about it. We're going to go down towards Twin Dams and see what we can find there. Let's just have a quick look at this magical... No, never mind, he's gone. Typical. I'm trying to listen to the radio to see if anybody actually followed up on Tingana. Let me just quickly ask. Oh, no. Tom, did you have any luck with Tingana? Go ahead, Tom. Did you have any luck with Tingana? Okay, copy, thanks. He's still in the same place, everybody. Flat as a pancake. Now, for those of you who are not on the morning safari, as I always like to say, shame upon you, but we did find Mr. or Mrs. Wahlberg of this nest up ahead here. Let's see if they've arrived back at the nest. Just up to the right-hand side. And I saw them flying when we went for a run today. But I don't see them here now. Oh well, shortly they will be in their tree, hopefully producing a little baby Wahlbergs. There we are. There she is, I think. Either that or it's a Walsha. Let's just go a little bit forward. No, these are Walshers. 2 Walshers. Oh yes, Poofy Poof. I facetiously said that spring takes 12 hours in this place and suddenly it gets hot. That really does happen. It happened around about the 14th or 15th of August. We had a sudden change in the weather. It suddenly became hot. Yeah, we've had a few cold snaps since then. The mornings are still a little bit chilly, but it's now hot in the afternoons and in the middle of the day. And so there has been a change already. Now, why are there 2 vultures here? I think if there was something particularly dead around here, there would probably be more than 2 vultures. We'll just quickly have a look at that one there. It is a white-backed vulture. Oh, it's decided to fly away. Thank you. Thank you. I've been spat upon by the universe today. Still enough heat for it to take off, you can see. Nice for the vulture, not so nice for us. Very interesting. Okay, let's carry on. I'm mystified somewhat by the presence of Hosanna at Buffelshoek Dam. I don't understand what male we were looking at this morning unless he moved all the way up to Buffelshoek Dam this morning. And that must have been, I mean, if he did, it would have been a walk of, well, I mean, it's not that far, it's probably about 2 miles, but strange that he would have done it at this time of the day, or, you know, during the middle of the day. Anyway, who knows? who knows what is going on here. It's cooled down now beautifully. It's probably dropped to about 80 degrees or so, maybe 78. And there is one of the two vultures. They've both sat down. Let's just carry on going here. Maybe we'll spot what they've seen. Of course, vultures are notoriously unreliable because their eyes are so good that means that they don't have to sit right above what it is that they've seen to eat. Yes, Miss Anna, I think you're absolutely right. I think I am going to throw a tantrum if I don't find something. I'm getting a little bit obsessed about finding these two that we had, or whose tracks we had down this way, just simply because they seemed so fresh and the whole area seemed full of promise. And yet here we are with nothing, while Steph is on his way to his second leopard of the afternoon. Well, I suppose he deserves it. It's nice to have him back in the car. Song of Rain, I can't tell the difference. I cannot tell you if I'm looking at Hosana's or Tingana's tracks. I think they're probably pretty much of a size. If you saw a footprint placed in exactly the same substrate, so exactly the same type of soil, right next to each other, you might be able to tell the difference. I think Tingana's are probably slightly larger, but I really can't tell the difference. Tristan swears blind that he can. Herbert confessed to me today that he found it very difficult. So I don't know. I'm going to say I can't tell the difference between their two tracks. As we go down towards where we had our giraffe earlier, maybe that giraffe was looking at our quarry. We haven't even managed to find the elephants, which is a bit distressing. Anyway, luck will change at some stage. There's a Birchall starling up ahead. Maybe it will sit still for long enough to let us have a look at it. All of these birds will be deeply excited with the oncoming warmer weather because, of course, that will bring about the insects. It'll bring the ants and the termites out of their nests. They really are spectacular looking birds, aren't they? When I was at nursery school, it was the fashion for young girls to wear what they called knickerbockers. Does anybody else know what those are from around the world? Well, they looked a little bit like the pants that this starling is wearing. I think they became known as pedal pushers later on. And those pedal pushers have mercifully gone the way of many bad fashion statements or fashion accoutrements. Kirsten, did you ever wear pedal pushers? I bet she did. She's going to have to admit to it now. No, she says she didn't. I bet Jerry did. Is Jerry there? Did Jerry wear pedal pushers? Jerry says Kirsten's lying, and Jerry did wear pedal pushers apparently. Anyway, both of them were born long after the days, the glory days of knickerbockers. Knickerbockers. Ridiculous. I don't know why they're ridiculous. I'm not sure why they're any more ridiculous than any other piece of clothing. They just looked a bit dumb. Anyway, they look just like that starling. We're approaching Twin Dams now. I'm just going to see if they haven't popped out that side. Perhaps they just turned their noses up at the quality of the water. Ziggy, yes, I think that's probably exactly what happened. I think that Tristan took Kalamba with him. She's going to the Congo with him to go and see what's happening there. And Tundi is obviously now at a spa because she doesn't have to look after her daughter while she's away in the Congo with Tristan. And so I think, you know, because she's in a spa, having a treatment, having some time off, Yeah, that's why we can't find her. This is a very nice shot of a waterbuck, or as Kirsten likes to call them, aquabucks. And in fact, because of that, David Gitu, when he arrived here, thought that in South Africa, that's what we call these, aquabucks. And so for months at a time, he called them aquabucks, until I said, you know, that's a bit just a joke. They're not really called aquabucks. At which point, he felt dreadful, because if he feels he's offended anybody, he goes into a decline. Still those lovely winter colours, copper, grey, brown. Now, a lot of people will find this a slightly harsh landscape, and certainly that question that we had earlier from our new viewer, and I'm afraid I've forgotten your name and I do apologise, but, you know, the comment about it, this country being in need of rain, Sailor Jerry, I think it was it? Sailor Jerry? You felt it needed rain. Well, yes, I can see why, and I'm sure it's because looking at this landscape for the first time, you must be thinking, gosh, that's really harsh. But it's not. And certainly I'm sure you'll agree that as the sun goes down, it looks less and less harsh. I remember the first time I went to Botswana, and I've just actually been reading a book about Botswana lately, and it's even drier than here in many parts, and until this time of the day it really can seem a tremendously harsh place. And then as the sun sets and the light softens and everything comes out to eat and the smells start to come out of the earth, you realize why it's such an appealing place for so many people. Yes, you see, that aquabuck agrees with me completely, Senzo. Right, Kirsten says we're going to go across to Steph, who has another leopard.
I'm using up every single leopard credit that I've built up over the last couple of years and months. This is now a different leopard to the one that we were looking at, and this is in fact that leopard's father. So this is Tingana. He's the dominant male leopard in this particular area, and sired Hosanna some time ago, and has been the father of many cubs in this particular area. And so he's definitely been is a very successful male leopard. And apparently he's lying on a full-grown Nyala kill here. So he killed it last night. Ooh. So you saw that mouth open. Something's happening here. I think it's probably a hyena. But let's just give it some time and see what's popping out of the bushes here. So that was very similar to how you see your house cat or your dog show you the teeth, and those bright contrasting colors, the white teeth with the pink gums and the black lips, and the hissing noise is a very clear warning. It's a warning that he's not happy with something. Now, it could have been because there's something busy feeding on his carcass or something else. Very weird to see. Look what he's doing there. Not happy yet. Ooh. So we've got Rexon next to us in another car, and Rexon says there's a slender mongoose feeding on the kill, and that's why he's having that reaction. Isn't that the most bizarre thing? Now, slender mongoose is about 200, maybe 300 grams, and this leopard is maybe 80 kilograms. And so what would it be? 70 times, 60 to 70 times heavier than a slender mongoose, and he's having this reaction. Just share your kill, man. It's a full-grown Nyala, man. Stop being such a pig. Now, because you saw this morning, I'm assuming you saw it with Tristan. You're wondering if he's managed to hoist it. No, he hasn't. As far as I can see, it's still lying underneath the bush. I can just see the curve of a horn, I think. And judging from his reaction with the slender mongoose on the floor, I'm convinced it's still on the... There we go. Yeah, in the middle. You can just see it there in the back. There's a bit of red on the back left-hand side. So no, he hasn't hoisted it. I doubt that he has even the strength to do that, but he's going to need to make a move soon, and I think that tree behind him, directly behind him, is probably going to be the best. So go back there. Let's see. Almost Kirsty's convinced we saw the slender mongoose. Let's have a look and see if we can. Let's see if we can see it there. There we go. There's the slender mongoose. Well done, Kirsty. So that is what Tingana is snarling at. Wow. That is a first for me, everybody. Co-feeding slender mongoose, leopard on a nyala kill. I never thought that a leopard would be tolerant of that. That's amazing. Let's see if he chases the slender mongoose. Obviously, he stands so little to lose by the gram or two of meat that slender mongoose is going to get. I mean, like, why not share, even if he does it with bad grace? Now, he's breathing heavily because I'm assuming that he's managed to inhale a good quarter to half of this nyala. You can see how full his belly is there. And that's pushing on his diaphragm and making his breath a bit shorter, but it's also creating, as it's fermenting in his belly and rotting basically, it's creating heat. And he's needing to pant to cool his body down while he digests it. And I think about, you know, if you've been lucky enough in the past to have a really big meal, how you feel, and particularly having a really big meat meal, your belly distends and it's very uncomfortable. That's what he's feeling now. Now he'll probably hoist the kill if he can eat a little bit more of it, and then into the tree behind him. Anthony, you'd like to know why we haven't seen jackals and foxes yet? Good question, Anthony. So you're speaking about the scavengers. Now there's a lot of hyena around here. There's also quite a few jackal. There are no foxes where we are here, but I'll group it all into scavengers, and I'm going to include vultures into that. You saw when we went to go and have a look at that slender mongoose above the kill that this kill is pretty much hidden underneath this bush, which means that vultures would have had a really difficult time seeing it, and predator or scavengers that react to vultures wouldn't have been able to react to this kill. So unless a scavenger was downwind and close enough for him to smell, or them to smell this kill, they wouldn't come around. Today has also been very warm, and so hairy things like hyena are not going to move around if they don't have to. I do think that there is a hyena den close to where we are now, although we haven't managed to find it yet, but I'm hoping that we do. And I definitely think that they are going to come and visit this carcass tonight. And if Tingana wants to keep it, he's going to have to drag half plus of a full-grown nyala carcass. So what is that? That's going to be 200 pounds or so of nyala carcass, or lose it. And definitely the tree that he's sitting next to is not going to be sufficient to that. So unless he does move it, he's going to lose it. And leopard lose kills often to scavengers. Vultures? No vultures in the trees, mainly because I think they didn't see it. It's hidden from view. Some elephant trumpeting in the distance. Wow, what a brilliant afternoon. 2 leopard, fairly easy to find. Elephant bathing, leopard 2-shot. So when we were with Hosanna, I mentioned that it's not impossible that Hosanna would be able to find this kill and be able to do it relatively easily. And there's a good chance that he then arrives on site. Now, as the crow flies, Hosanna's in this direction here, and probably about, he is there. and probably about a kilometer as the crow flies away, and the wind is blowing away from him. So there's a chance that he misses it. However, they have an unbelievable sense of where each other are in relation to, you know, to anywhere on this particular area where they live. And I would imagine that Hosanna knows that the last time he heard or smelt Tingane, he was in this area. And because he hasn't come out of this area, why not come and have a look here? The chance of sharing a meal is just too good a chance not to take up. And of course, if the wind swings direction, or he hears Tingane roaring, or he hears Tingane having a fight with hyena, he will come running. He's snarling again. I would imagine that slender mongoose is back eating his kill. He's a greedy guy. Considering the fact that he steals kills from his own son more often than not, he's definitely got some bad grace going there. Let's see if he chases that. I doubt he will. Belly full. I think he's just moaning. No, he's going to chase him. No, man, that is rude of you. Why do that? I hope you get constipation for a little bit. That's not the way to do it. Yo, look at his belly. Got a soccer ball inside there. Now, I wouldn't say that he's quite double his son's weight, but he is probably easily 25-30% heavier. Now, we're going to stick around over here for a little bit. Why don't we go see what James is driving around with?
We just came along this little game path where the tracks were, and I'm afraid I found nothing further. So my search for Thandi and Tlhalamba is going to terminate when we return to the road, which is not far from here. You can hear in my voice that I am deeply depressed. My heart is in pain, but you know, that's just the way it goes. Amy, it's very simple to tell male and female leopard tracks apart once you've seen one of each. The females are very much smaller than the males. The females have the males have a track roughly the size of my palm. I'm not a large man, but a sort of an average-sized man's palm. And then the females, quite conveniently, have a track roughly the size of an average woman's palm. So that's pretty much how you tell them apart. It gets a little complicated when it's a young male or a big female, but really it's pretty obvious once you've seen them. I was convinced they were going to be right here. There were no trees, and so no obvious places to hoist a kill, and there but plenty of cover. So I thought maybe in amongst these guarri bushes, there we'd find them, feasting upon an impala or a nyala. But alas, and alack, there is nothing. So we'll go back to Treehouse Dam and see if anyone's come down there for a drink. Sad state of affairs. Maybe they'll just pop out on the road in front of us. That would be nice. Okay, back to the dam. I do apologise for my incompetence this afternoon. Nikki, I don't know when the last time we saw Thandi and the cub was. I don't think it was too long ago. I feel like it was maybe a few weeks ago. No, at least not a few weeks ago, about a week ago. Yes, it was, because I think it was round about when Hosanna was stealing their impala from them. The one that they stole from the wild dogs. So that's when it was. So it's almost exactly a week ago. We've had their tracks going in and out of this area now for about 3 days and just failed to find them. Jerry says it was on the 31st of August, so that's just under a week ago. Thank you, Jerry. It was on Friday. All right, so what, is it not Is it incorrect that it was almost a week ago? Apparently Friday is not almost a week ago. It was on Friday, everybody. I think the girls in the final control should go and put their pedal pushers on it. Stop giving me a hard time. We'll have a quick look at the water hole here. All right, here. Come on, please be drinking here. Why don't you just come out and be drinking at the water hole? Yes? Yes, are you? Are you going to be? Yes? No. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a diker. Another diker. Another diker. I nearly swore, because what we do is we see thousands of these things. As soon as you bring a camera to bear on them, they disappear. Watch this. There it is. Yep. Go on then. Off you go. Oh, this one's not that camera shy. That's very nice. There are so many of these things around. I'm astounded the leopards eat anything else, frankly. Certainly Horsana eats quite a few of them. And they too, much like the starling, will be relieved with the coming spring because they'll eat buds. You can see very selectively taking little buds of bush, leaves and flowers, and even the odd bit of fruit if they can. Very sweet little scene. I'm feeling ashamed now that I cast aspersions on the camera worthiness of the diker. Everything's gone rather quiet suddenly. That's not because there are leopards around, I don't think. I think it's just because the evening is upon us. And there's a young ram diker. And those horns, very powerful and very useful for fighting each other and predators off. Very nice. All right, Senzo, let us press on from this magnificent diker. All righty, let's go back to Stefan Tingana and I shall continue my search.
Who knows what James is going to turn up next? Definitely you are not with this afternoon, you're definitely not with the two best guys at finding animals. And I must be honest with you, I've burnt a lot of credits by showing you two leopards in a single drive. And, you know, it's a good thing that I'm not on drive very often, because you wouldn't have seen a single mammal for the next 3 months with me if I was permanently driving. James and I seem to have the same repellent effect on what others would consider high-profile, significant animals to look at. We're still watching Tingana. So for those of you who just joined he's still busy hammering at this poor mongoose that's busy feeding on his carcass with him. Yep, there you go. Now what you watched there was him charging at a mongoose, slender mongoose, that was co-feeding on a nyala kill with Tingana, and he just has had enough of sharing his nyala kill. Now, leopard will kill smaller predators, mainly just to reduce competition on scarce resources. Is a nyala a resource that is shared by mongoose? Absolutely not. But it is his kill, and he is lord over it, and he will protect it as much as what he can. I'm just astounded at the fact that mongoose actually has the proverbials to come and feed on it, because given the chance, this leopard will kill him, absolutely. It's amazing. Now, Albeit, you've asked a question from where you're sitting at the moment, and you would like to know if he will hoist the kill after he's reduced it to a manageable size. He definitely will. The fact is that he probably could have hoisted this kill at any time, from when he killed it to now. They're quite capable of dragging their own body weight plus some into a tree. The fact is that he hasn't felt the need to. So he killed it last night or early this morning. It's been a hot day. He hasn't had vultures calling in other scavengers. He hasn't need to. That's allowed him to eat and lighten the carcass, but it has given him a full belly, which will make him sluggish. The only tree that he is possibly going to be able to drag this to is over his head to the right-hand side. That tree that you see there in the distance, you can see that it has suitable horizontal boughs to carry the weight of a carcass, but it's a good 40 yards or so from where he is at the moment. So he's going to need to carry basically 2 cement bags in his teeth, using his fingernails and his fingertips, across 40 yards of grass and snagging sticks, and then drag it 10 yards up vertically onto a branch. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely could not drag 2 cement bags with my fingernails in the floor using my teeth into the tree at the moment. And so I think what he'll do is he'll put it off as much as he can. He's also a big male leopard. He's not gonna take any nonsense from a single hyena. So hyenas are going to have to come in force, and there's always the chance that he could lose this kill. It's a large kill, but he's had a good meal. He's as distended as what I've ever seen a leopard, so you're looking at a good 40 pounds of meat or so in his belly. And that's a significant amount of food. That'll keep him going a week. So if he does lose it, it's not too bad. I know he would choose not to, but he'll try. Pippin, you'd like to know what the purpose is of a dewlap and why does it run all the way to its belly? Pippin, frankly, it's to make him look more impressive in profile. Leopard will quite often walk side by side to one another when they're trying to show off how big and strong and healthy they are. And when they do that, having an extra fold of skin makes their body look even bigger in profile, i.e. from the side. Nyala do it. They've got a fringe of hair that basically runs on their fringes, and you see what we call the piloerection, when they erect this hair and they do a dominance display and they step daintily. But generally it's next to one another, and leopard do exactly the same thing. They will pace next to one another, bristling and angry and snarling and storming at one another. But the dewlap is to signify size and dominance and weight and health, and makes them look bigger in profile. I'm trying to think of what it would be, what a human trait it would be similar to. I suppose someone showing you their bicep in a pub would be that. Now, James has got a bird of prey, and before it flies away, I want you to have a look at what it is.
Yes, I have a bird of prey, and it is not flying away. I'm not sure if Steph meant to do that, but he probably did. Now, the question to all of you is, what is this bird of prey? If you're regular watchers, you have seen it before. See its nictitating membrane there? That's not a diagnostic feature. What you will get quite nicely diagnostic there is that the gape very clearly does not extend beyond the middle of the eye. See that? The gape is, of course, basically the lips. The bird is slowly disappearing from the picture. Ah, there we go. So what could this bird be? We have the following brown eagles in this area: the steppe eagle, the Wahlberg's eagle, the tawny eagle, the booted eagle, and that's all. Laura Moore, this is not a Battalier. You can see there's no white on it, and it has no red on the face. Keep going, everybody. Keep going. Well done, Mafuta. It is indeed a Wahlberg's eagle. It is the chocolate Wahlberg's eagle of Twin Dams fame. Now, it's a little bit tricky, this one, because he's hidden his crest. He's sort of put it down, but you can see that it does form. And so he is the partner of the pale form Wahlbergs that lives at Twin Dams. April, you said it was a turkey. Now, you see, that would have been my second guess. If I hadn't known that it was a Wahlberg's eagle, if I hadn't lived in this area for the length of time that I have, turkey would have been my first guess as well. So, well done for that. I think that your guess of turkey was certainly not way off. I mean, if you'd said blue wax spill, that probably would have been a long way off. But, you know, turkey, closer than blue wax spill, certainly. Well done. It isn't a turkey, though, of course, it is the Wahlberg's eagle. Very nice. Well, I'm glad we found the Wahlberg's eagle. We've made a habit of finding Wahlberg's eagles. Lewis, you want to know if chickens have lips, and how about the Wahlberg's eagle? No. No, chickens don't have lips. They've just got a very easily closing beak. And it means Wahlberg's eagle has the same. It doesn't have lips. No. And of course that does present some difficulty for drinking. And I forget exactly the mechanism, but doves are able to drink with their faces just straight in the water without having to tip their heads back. But if you watch a bird like this drink, it puts its head in the water and then tips its head back, and water goes down the throat. You wouldn't be able to drink facing downwards if you didn't have lips. Chickens do not have lips. I've definitely never been asked that before. I guess that's the joy of live safaris with new people every day. You hear something new all the time. Chicken lips. Alrighty, shall we carry on from here? We've still failed to find any kind of cat, I'm afraid, but that's all right. It was very nice to see our Wahlberg's eagle. Goodbye, Walby. See you later. Wonder why he's on his own. To fight with his lady. Charles, there are a few ways to tell the difference between a tawny eagle and the Wahlberg's eagle. Firstly, the tawnies are normally more tawny than that one is. That's a very dark form Wahlberg's. You can get dark form tawnies, but they're not normally as dark as that. Secondly, the tawny is larger. And so, well, I guess if you don't see them sitting next to each other and you don't know them very well, then you might confuse them size-wise. Thirdly, the tawny is a very scruffy-looking eagle. It always looks like it's just been dragged through a hedge backwards. And fourthly, if you look at the tawny, unless it's an extremely unusual dark form, you will see that its wings are a darker color than the rest of the body. So although it does have a variable color, the body is one color and the tops of the wings are normally a different color. And if you look at them from behind, they've got a very distinct V formed by those different colors, whereas that Wahlberg's is uniformly colored on the back. I hope that helps. The tawny also doesn't have that tiny little crest that sticks out the back of the Wahlberg's eagle. Makes it look rather imperious. Better put some lights on now, I suppose, as the night starts to fall and we continue to look for leopards while you go back to an actual leopard with Steph.
Whether or not chickens have lips. I don't quite know if I find that hilarious or ludicrous. I haven't quite decided yet. We're still with Tingana. For those of you who have just joined us, we're sitting with the dominant male leopard in this particular area. He has got a nyala kill in the grass behind him, full-grown nyala, and he is lying up, just busy digesting the fullest belly that I've seen in a long time on a leopard. And will continue to do so through the course of the night. I would imagine that he's going to be visited by some hyena, potentially even a lion at some point. And what will happen then is he'll decide whether or not it will be worth fighting over the kill, moving it, or losing it. And there's a good chance, there's an equal chance that he does one of the three. Obviously, if a lion arrives on the scene, he will give up the carcass. He's going to be outweighed even by a small adult lioness. He'll be outweighed significantly, and he won't put up much of a fight. Leopard will not risk personal injury. What are you going to do now? And then exactly because I thought that he was going to stay and eat, he's going to walk away and leave it. Weekend escape, you'd like to know if leopard, it means no hunting if leopard walk with their tails in the air. I'm assuming you're talking about the tip of the tail and not the entire tail held upright, and just the tip. And in that case, no, they will hunt with the tip of their tail up. What they do learn with age is flicking the tail. So you can see now as he walks there, that tail is dead still. But as they get agitated, it'll start to flick. And if you were lucky enough to notice with Hosana a little bit earlier on, when he was looking at those elephants and deciding what direction to walk in, he flicked his tail. Now, I think Tingana is going for a drink. Yeah. We're going to have quite a shocking change now, where we go from visible light to infrared light. And you're going to notice that. You went from grey to grey. Not quite as shocking as what I thought it was going to be. But what is different is the fact that we are now in, as it gets darker, we will be able to view him without artificial light. Now, this is the tree that I think he's going to be moving his kill to. I do think that he's going to go for a drink. The closest water to here is Buffelshoek Dam, and that is a big risk for him to lose this kill. He could come back to find nothing. But I actually think that it's probably a risk that he's willing to take, mainly because he's got a full belly and he is thirsty. And so why not? So to answer your question a little bit, with a little bit more detail about the flick of his tail, a young leopard will quite often flick that white tip of the tail now while he's busy sort of in indecision. It's a good mood indicator. An older leopard, more mature, and the tail stays still. And so they will hunt with their tail up. It's a following mechanism that they have in their genes for cubs that are at that eye level to use as a beacon to follow. And I've seen it with leopard like that. It hooked up. Almost looks like a snake. Oh, he's got to walk if he thinks he's going to go drink at Buffelshoek Dam and then come back here. But it's not uncommon for leopard to walk kilometers to go for some water. And I think that it's quite feasible that he'll go all the way to Buffelshoek Dam, run the risk of losing the kill, and return. And if he gets back and it's still here, well then good for him. I think he's won a prize then. Full belly, water, hydrated. You can see that dewlap now in profile, how big it makes his neck and his chest look. It's just a flap of skin, but from this particular angle, you don't actually know if it's muscle there or what it is. but it definitely increases the size and his physical presence. There are a few other cars in the sighting with me, so what we'll try and do is remain as unobtrusive as possible. He's an old guy, that has seen many game drives before, and he knows that for a little bit we're going to share his space with him, and then we'll go away, and he carries on basically, unhindered. For the rest, we're going to see if we can get out in front of him, and in the meantime, let's go to James.
Yes, here we are, still searching. We have our spots light out now. We are in infrared, you can see. It is not this, that I'm a colourless fellow. We went past Twin Dams and didn't see the other Wahlbergs easily. Anyway, something will turn up, no doubt. Certainly the amount of moaning I've done today should turn something up for us. Now we have half an hour of darkness, which means we have half an hour of coolth and half an hour to find some nocturnal creatures. I'd quite like to see, oh, you know where I'm going right now, actually. Hold on one sec. We're very close by to that bush baby's nest, and they come out at this time of the day. And if you catch them just before they come out, it's very sweet. Stay with me, bear with me, people. It's not far. It's not far. Oh, 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 bump. Oh, dear. Oh, yes. Oh. Right, on we go. Oh, it's all stinky. It's just around the next corner, I promise. My luck today, there will not be a bush baby anywhere near it, but maybe we'll be lucky. It's just in a little knobthorn tree up on the right-hand side. I can see the tree. There's a nyala. Don't worry, nyala. We're going to look for bush babies. Alrighty. I think it's this one. Deja vu, aardwolf. I've heard of one aardwolf having been seen in this area only once before. And I've never heard of another one being seen, so in theory, yes, they do occur. I think that's the hole there. I don't think they're there. You see that low hole there? That's the one. Are you there, chaps? Do you want to come out? Hello? Just, can you focus the flare on that hole there, Sensor? Because what it'll tell us is if there's more heat inside. Look, there's heat coming out of it. Are we on the vlieg? No, they just have to change some audio settings before you can look at the vlieg. I'm just searching for a couple of eyes. Right now we're in the flare. You can see there's quite a lot of heat coming out of that hole. And I suspect that's because there are a couple of bush babies still inside. It'd be very convenient if they just stuck their heads out now. Alas, they do not seem to want to do that. Let's go a little bit forward. Just search this tree as well, Senzo, if you don't mind. I don't see any bush baby. I think that little hole, it wasn't that little hole, was it? Ooh, a ground beetle. There's a sign of summer. But look at the heat coming out of the hole. If you go back to the vlieg, look at that. So that's the hole there. Most impressive. Now, let's go back to the ground beetle. That is a 2-spot ground beetle. And in fact, you can see it in the FLIR camera, but it's back on the main camera now. It was just a small black spot on the FLIR camera. It's giving off no heat at all, covered as it is by a chitinous exoskeleton, which obviously is not a very good conductor of heat. It's a very good insulator, I suspect. Very nice. They're predators, and I don't know why this one is on the tree as opposed to on the ground. But I suspect that if the bush baby pops its head out of that hole, that ground beetle could be in some bother. Alrighty, no bush babies, great disappointment. Let's continue. Ready, Senzel? On we go. Lindsay, my favourite small animal, well, which would be, I mean, well, how do we define a small animal? I think a bush baby's got to be right up there. I think that they are very, very cute. They are the kind of animal that makes you want to give them a long hug, squeeze them. Not to be unkind, squeezing them, but to squeeze them and be bluffing towards them. Bushveld gerbils are quite cute, but they are rodents. Squirrels, same, also rodents. I suppose a serval, if I could spend more time around servals, I suppose they're quite small animals, but I really think bush babies are very cute indeed. Let's go with the bush baby on that one, Lindsay. I was hoping that my memory of that bush baby's nest would have drawn me along the road serendipitously to find the leopards. As you can see, that has not happened. Oh well, never mind. At least we have had 2 leopards today. I don't suppose that we should be too ungrateful for those. Warm evening as well. We were talking about spring a little bit earlier and how we know the difference or what it feels like when it changes. And a big thing you notice is that the temperature stops dropping as the sun goes down. In winter, it really is, it's like switching off the heater. Whereas now, the earth retains some of the heat of the day. It remains quite warm. I don't think I'll need to put on a jersey. Steph apparently was looking for Tingana, which is a bit distressing. Let's go and see if we found him.
Now you join us in what is the quintessential safari activity in the Sabi Sands, and really only possible on any regular basis here. One of the very few, no, it's not the only place, but it's one of the very few places in the world where you can come on safari and actively follow one of Africa's large predators at night, and do so without them really even caring about you. Right there we have Tingana. He's a male leopard in this area, and there are 2 vehicles here, ourselves and Aubrey, a fellow colleague of mine. And basically we're just trailing after Tingana, who is on his way to some water. I would imagine that he is heading straight towards Buffelshoek Dam, and he's going to go and have a lengthy drink, and then probably, I don't know, walk straight back here, or maybe go for a snooze somewhere, and then go and see if his kills left. They often do that. Females will leave kills to go and fetch cubs. They'll go and drink water. Males will go and drink water and leave their kills on the ground. Our Beard asked a little bit earlier if he's eaten a lot now to lighten it up to hoist it. I definitely think so. It would have been a very difficult thing for him to carry up. He would have been able to do it, but I think it would have been a difficult thing for him to do, and not worth the effort, frankly. There wasn't anything that was, motivating him to do that. Now we are in infrared light, which is why that vehicle seems so bright. Sorry, Kirsty, just PT's question, just repeat it if you don't mind. I just got the tail end of it only. PT, you asked if leopards would have a fight in a tree. Absolutely. We've watched Tingana fighting another leopard in a tree over kills. In fact, we've watched Hosana jump over Tingana recently. As Tingana was scaling up a tree. I've also watched a male leopard trying to kill a cub and a female leopard running up behind the male leopard in the top of the tree and clawing the leopard out of the tree. She perished in the attempt, but it was the most impressive video I've ever seen. Shocking, but impressive. Right, now we've just got the vehicle in front of us that's going to blind us a little bit with some light, so we're going to lose visual there, but have a look at that nimbus of light around that leopard. Isn't that just beautiful? Wow. That is so cool. You see how close they walk to the car there. I mean, nowhere else will you get that than here. That is just... I mean, there are some places, sorry, maybe I should clarify that. There are places in the South Luangwa in Zambia where you'll get close to leopard. There are places in Botswana where you'll get close to leopard like this. But on such a large scale, so often, I don't know if you will get close to this. I mean, I've seen leopard in all those areas fantastically well. But all right, so we are alone with the leopard in the middle of the Kruger National Park at Djuma Private Game Reserve. Have a look at that. Now, one of the indicators, no, I won't show you. One of the, that nest in the tree, sorry, David. I started something that I have to finish. That is the nest of a red-headed weaver, and when they start to build their nests again, then summer is back. There's no activity there, but it would be a good thing to keep our eye on when they start to build it. Then we know summer has repeated itself here. So quite looking forward to summer again. I'm not a big fan of winter, I'll be honest with you. And now I've got to switch my radio on again, which is going to cause a bit of a disturbance. I get distracted when I've got too many things going on at the same time. And so if you every now and again hear me go quiet or see my eyes lose focus or start to wander toward one another or one aimlessly turning around in my skull, it's because I've got many voices going on in my head. And it takes some time to get used to that. A few of you are wondering if tomorrow I'm going to be doing a bushwalk, and I'd love to. David, is it possible to do a bushwalk tomorrow? So yes, we're going to do a bushwalk tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to be... Tristan's been telling me how awesome the bushwalks have been lately, and I can't wait to get out there. I very rarely at the moment get into the bush, especially when we're busy with a massive series like we were recently. I think the last time I got into the bush was a few weeks ago, a few months ago. And even though I live in the bush and quite often walk around it with my son, it's not the same as doing a bushwalk with all of you. And I definitely am looking forward to it tomorrow, if everything works, of course. There's always a constant state of entropy out here, and even though everything stays exactly the same as you left it when you switch off the vehicle, when you switch it back on again the next time, you're not always certain it's going to work. Now, this leopard is going to cut across the block here. Of course he's going to. Now, that is the difference between the experience I have and the experience Aubrey has. Aubrey has literally gone on the path he knew that Tingana was going to take and is waiting right there. And I now have to go all the way around. Have a look at that. I can't even see him at the moment. Black in front of my eyes. All right, we're going to send you over to James and see if we can stick with Tingana.
Hello again. Well, welcome back to this car. we still carry on our search. Trying very hard, I promise everybody. We just haven't been lucky today. Gremlins General, I'd be happy if I found anything for you today. A chameleon, I think, may be a stretch, but they will be coming out fairly soon, so maybe we'll find a chameleon. Gremlins General. Project Alpha identified that beetle as a two-spot assassin beetle, not a two-spot ground beetle, which I suppose may explain why it wasn't on the ground. So thank you for that, Project Alpha. I apologize for getting that wrong. Not even impala on these clearings where they normally are. Wild painted lions around Djuma at the moment. Well, the Nkuhumas crossed onto Djuma this morning and then crossed off just as quickly into Simbambili and then down towards Arathusa. And then the Avoca boys are on Buffelshoek, which is the property to the north of us. So those are the ones around at the moment. No sign of the Torchwood Pride, no sign of the Talamati Pride of late. I'm not vaguely surprised that the Talamati Pride hasn't been seen. The Nkuhumas are reasserting themselves to the north. I think that the peace process between them and the Avocas must be almost complete by now. And so it would not surprise me if they started spending a lot more time in their traditional grounds to the north of where we are here, as opposed to extraterritorially down towards the south, which is, I think, what they did when the Avocas arrived, and Amber Highs had her cubs, which have unfortunately since met their end. Quite interestingly, I've been watching the dynamics in the Mara, and I'm sure many of you have too. The Lion Pride territories seem to become entirely fluid when it's migration season, and nobody really is particularly territorial. Yes, they do chase each other and roar from time to time, but they're not nearly as fastidious about marking or protecting their territories from other lions at times of the year that aren't quite as abundant, food-wise, I mean. So that's been fascinating to watch. The Salt Lick Pride, oh well, they've all but disappeared, seemingly. The Sausage Tree Pride way down in their territory, the Olololo Pride going down onto the river, I think, at various stages. So it's been very interesting to watch how those pride dynamics change. Ah! 99 votes have been counted for the baby lapwing. 20% Nala. Only 28% wanted to call it Leslie. Which means that 52% odd wanted to call it Scoot. Scoot it is, then. No, Kirsten, we can't call it Leslie Scoot Lapwing because I'm sulking. That's not how democracy works. Thank you, Senzo, for helping me through this trying time. No, we can't call it Scootly either, Kirsten. I guess it will just have to be Scoot. I feel betrayed, everybody. Let's carry on. Yes, exactly. Senzo says only those who didn't vote are laughing. Well, I guess I'll eventually find an animal that I can call Leslie or Robin. Oh, thank you. Somebody voted and immediately, and now it's 51% Scoot. Wow. How joyful. Well, Scoot is not the worst name. It could have been called, I don't know, Barry or something like that, which wouldn't be so appropriate for a lapwing. Leslie the lapwing was a great name. The problem is now that when it grows up and it's going to be called Scoot the lapwing, its friends are going to say, this is a really childish name you have. It must have been great when you were little, but now, look at you, you're not scooting anymore. Anyway, I'm going to ponder on these things while you go back to Steph and his leopard. Go on.
I'd be very interested to hear what James's feedback is on that after he's had some time to ponder and seethe and basically steam over it or stew over it. We're still with Tingana, a large male leopard here in the Sabi Sand, Djuma Private Game Reserve, South Africa. And he is on his way to water with a mission. He's got a belly full of nyala. And he's busy walking a mixture of roads and game paths, but basically heading straight towards where water is. And David and I, who are the only two vehicles on this car, only two people on this vehicle, what was he saying? We've just been pondering ourselves as to, is it a memory of where the water is? Is it a memory of where the water is? Or is he hearing, he's just thirsty, he looks up and he's hearing things like frogs and nighttime waterfowl, water thickneys, and then moving towards that knowing that that's water? Because there's a big difference between a memory of something and reacting to a stimulus. Although I suppose in the same breath, the knowing that a water bird is at water is the same thing, really. So it must be memory. Which I find quite profound, to be quite honest, because their brains are quite small. If you put your fist up, not a large man's fist, but a sort of average, the average size between an average lady's fist. So what is that? 50 to 60 kilograms. I'm running myself into some dangerous waters over here. But just smaller than that. And that's basically the size of a leopard's brain, and it doesn't have the massive frontal cortex that primates do. It is more developed than that of other cats and other mammals. They do definitely have a more developed brain, but it's not something, you know, out of sort of Einstein's vertical forehead. I'm going to make some space over here for Aubrey to come past. He has got some guests that are not appreciating my exhaust fumes. And let's see if we can make some space here without... Chris, you ask a question that I've never been asked before, but I've always been wanted to be asked. Have I ever seen a strawberry leopard before? Chris, the answer is no. However, I did see the skin of one, and I have seen a photograph of one. And I really, really want to see them. They are quite common close to here in a town called Leidenburg. And it's basically just a very light-coloured... excuse me, I'm just watching Aubrey come past. Cheers, Aubs. I'm going to be with you still, okay? Basically, it's a very light-coloured leopard. And when you see a picture of it on its own, it actually looks exactly like this leopard we're following right now. But when you see them next to a normal coloured leopard, they almost look like you've taken an eraser and not smudged the colours, but muted them. What do you call it, David, when you desaturate the colours? So when you unsaturate or you desaturate the colours, and it turns it into this beautiful sort of, the yellows turn into a light yellow, almost pink colour, And I would dearly love to see that. I have seen a living black leopard before, or what we would call a panther. And that is when there's an overload of dark pigment inside the skin. And although there are rosettes and patterns, everything is completely infused with melanin and looks almost black. Leucistic or albinism in leopard is fairly uncommon. I've never even seen a picture of one. I'd like to know if there are any of you who have seen a picture of a leucistic or an albino leopard. Leucism and albinism are almost not quite the same thing, but almost the same thing, and that would be a lack of dark pigment. So I suppose a pink leopard would be considered something along those lines, but not completely. No, there is now, to give you an example, I'm seeing what you're seeing here, completely black. I can't see anything in front of us. But when we switch on the infrared, there you can see. Now, there's Tingana there. That is the wonder of technology, everybody. I'm driving blind, but yet you can see much more than me. So I'm hoping in the next 4 minutes that we actually get to the water. He's almost there, everyone. I'm really hoping that we see him drink at the water. He's definitely heading there. And let's see, we can extend a little bit just to see him get there. And we are 20, 30 meters away. So I think let's see if we can get into a place where we can have a look at him. We might have to zoom in full because I think he's going to go and drink at the point of the pan. Let's see if we can get into a nice position. He is in exactly the same place as we saw Hosanna a few hours ago. I wonder where that young man has gone. He's not going to be too far away, that's for sure. Let's see if we can pass here quickly. Thank you. And let's see if we can get ourselves into a decent position. Okay, so we are at the dam, so we're not far away from Tingana coming down for a drink. Now another. Where's going to be best, eh? He's going to come and drink right in front of us here on the. Huh? Sorry everybody, I'm just asking David where's going to be the best for a shot here, because it's going to be a difficult thing to get a nice view of him, if a view at all. Let's see. Let's see what we got going here. I'm going to follow Aubrey down here. Okay, let's go. Let's see where this big guy is going to drink. It's going to be so cool to watch him come down. So Kirsty says that you're betting that Usana is going to go and eat Tingana's kill. I actually think that he probably will do the same thing. Okay, he's going to go down and drink at the point of the pan. That is so typically leopard. Don't go and drink where it's nice and easy. Go and drink where the water is being full of elephant wee and everything else. Let's see what he does. I've tracked so many leopard to mud wallows and pans like this, and they almost always exhibit the same thing. A secluded spot. And what a treat. We're going to have him drinking right at us. Look at that picture. Oh, just missing that silhouette. Or just missing that reflection. Wow, what a treat. Eh? So that is definitely paid off after a couple of minutes of following him down the road. Nice full belly, and now drinking. Just going to go forward a little bit just to see if we can get you. I just want to see if I can get you that reflection. that is going to make the money shot for today. Let's see if we can get you that. There you go. Very, very cool. Band Andy, you say amazing end to the show. I must agree with you. This is the best game drive I've taken in years. So thank you very, very much for joining me on the show, and to my entire crew and everyone else around. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. Hopefully he has his kill tomorrow still, which is always a chance. And we'll definitely see what tomorrow has in store for Tingana, the Duke of Djuma, and his full-grown Nyala kill. Let's see if he drags it that 40 yards across the bush. All right, wherever you are in the world, have a good day, and we will catch up with you tomorrow.